Lots going on in the world of politics this week, and front and center, what I covered all week for the news with Rick Sanchez, the hearings for President Donald Trump's SCOTUS nominee, Amy Coney Barrett. Now, not only do Democrats argue that this process is being rushed, but also that the addition to Barrett would make the bench a 6-3 Republican majority. Now, all of the Supreme Court justices who actually lean to the right, well, they're all members of what's known as the Federalist Society. Now, there's a proposal by the ethics advisory arm of the federal judiciary that actually would block membership of those who belong to the Federalist Society because of perceived bias. But to keep it balanced, as we do, the panel also proposed banning membership of a left-leaning group, the American Constitution Society. Could this help or hurt the way judges are appointed now? So for more on this, I bring in Lionel of Lionel Media and Robert Patillo, both lawyers, very, very familiar with this. So, Lionel, first to you. If Judge Barrett is confirmed, you would then have 6 judges, members of the Federalist Society. In your opinion, should there be a ban on judges that are members of groups like this?
No, that's just patently absurd. This has been the issue du jour. I would venture to say that most people couldn't tell you what the Federalist Society is about. They couldn't explain objectivism or textualism or original intent. And it would be, to me, just as ludicrous to ban somebody who was a member of the ACLU or who was a Catholic or a Jew or a woman or I mean, it doesn't matter. Because somebody somewhere along the line, when you get to the Supreme Court level, has been a member of organizations that may or may not involve a juridical thinking process. So no, it's patently absurd.
And Robert, I'm going to ask the same to you, because we did see a lot this week in those hearings, questions about how does she feel about gun control? How does she feel about abortion? How does she feel about, all these or climate change? And there was never a stance. But, I mean, do you think this is going to help or hurt at all?
Well, I did just onto the question of the Federalist Society. Let's understand that Lionel's point is correct, that people do not understand or know these shadowy organizations that are determining the entirety of the federal judiciary. They gave a list to Donald Trump, the president of the United States, and told him who he could pick to be these federal judges. They start recruiting individuals. They're 1L year of law school. They have a particular set of values, and I think that this unelected, unknown shadowy organization is not as if it's a sexual orientation or a religious orientation. It is a secret society that is determining and has lifetime appointments, will be determining the future of America for generations to come. So Lionel can laugh, but I think that if, let's say, it was the Nation of Islam that had 6 people on the Supreme Court, then we would have a lot more. We have a lot of questions on that also.
Now, Lionel, to kind of piggyback off of that, how do you defend knowing that, for example, one of the biggest donors to the Federalist Society is the Koch brothers, giving at least, $17 million? I mean, last year it was a $26 million. They raked in $26 million. How do you defend that?
Easy. So what? It has nothing to do with this. It has nothing to do with what we're talking about. I mean, so what? Big deal. The bottom line is simply this, and I can understand people thinking, oh, it's going to be a conservative court. Do you have any idea of what conservative justices have ruled in the past? And I'm sure my esteemed colleague here knows about how there have been switcheroos, how Harry Blackmun, who penned Roe, was appointed by Nixon, Earl Warren, who was appointed by Eisenhower, Byron White, it goes down the list. We're not even sure about Gorsuch. We're not sure about Kavanaugh. We're not even sure about Roberts. This idea that you remain a liberal or a conservative is just absurd. Because, as my colleague will tell you, 90% of the stuff that the Supreme Court justices rule on are some of the driest, most juridically wonky stuff you can imagine, not abortion and climate change. So this is just poppycock. Not from you, Faran, but the whole subject.
All right, so Robert, we're going to switch gears now. Thursday night, Trump and former VP Joe Biden, they weren't on the same stage, but they had their simultaneous town halls replacing the town hall debate that they were supposed to have. But Biden has refused to answer whether or not he's going to expand the size of the Supreme Court. Will he pack the court or not? He is still not given a yes or no answer. Rather, he's saying he's just not a fan, but he's going to have an answer election day. Robert, why not just answer the question?
Well, because Republicans have already been packing the courts for nearly a decade now by blocking President Obama's nominees to the federal judiciary. They left hundreds of seats open for President Trump to pack with Federalist Society, secretly shadowy figures who now are on the bench for a lifetime. People who are rated unqualified by the American Bar Association. Individuals who lack any trial skills and any trial ability. Simply being part of a secret organization gets you on the federal bench. So the fact that they blocked Merrick Garland, the fact that they held that up for months, for 10 months prior to the election, and now they want to ask the question about court packing when they've already packed the court. This is what we saw in apartheid South Africa when the ruling class was no longer in power, when they were no longer a political majority. They decided that they would entrench themselves in the judiciary because they knew that those lifetime unelected appointments would be able to control the government from behind the scenes, as opposed to simply trying to go through the political process. As the Republicans become a dying party, a dying movement who has only been able to secure the popular vote in a federal election one time in the last 30 years, they entrenched themselves in the judiciary. So I think we need to be concerned about this.
All right, gentlemen. Lionel, I know you're very active, but we gotta leave it there. We're out of time. But in my court, I ruled that both of you have
Bravo.
great points. Great points. Thank you both.